the letter of Philippians is being addressed to the city of Philippi, except that it doesn't exist a church yet. So he's writing there, and when they arrive, there's no synagogue. It's a very Greek city. So all of a sudden, Paul has to deal with change really quick here. Because his whole plan, okay, go to the biggest city. Check. Go to the synagogue on Sabbath. Well, there is no synagogue. Probably because there weren't very many Jews in this city. It's a very Greek area, getting farther away from Israel, and there just was none. A lot of retired Roman soldiers would go to the city because they had the colony status, and there were a lot of extra rights they had. So he's trying to figure out what to do. Like, he hears there's a place of prayer by the riverside, so he's like, well, we should go there. Meaning that people who feared God, either Jews or God-fearers was the term they gave to non-Jews who believed in this God of the Old Testament, would gather for prayer. And when they get there, it's a small group. It's not a big enough gathering to have a whole synagogue. So they head there, and when they get there, there aren't even any men. When it says the women were gathered for prayer, it means that's all there were. There was only just women there. And the woman that listens to them isn't a Jew. She's a Greek. Lydia. It's a very Greek name. So, again, Paul's methods was go to the big city, go to the synagogue on Sabbath, preach to the Jews who are there. All of a sudden, he's like, okay, so you called me here, God, but I can't do my normal strategy. What am I going to do? Well, I hear there's a place of prayer. Got it. Okay, there's no men. Well, there's some women here, so I guess I'll just keep going with what I usually do. I'll sit down and I'll talk to them. And who could say a Greek woman? And so, I imagine Paul in his head thinking back, okay, what happened to you? Remember from this recap? What kind of vision did Paul get? He saw a man saying, come over to Macedonia. So Paul shows up in Macedonia, the biggest city, no synagogue, no man. And he's thinking, okay, I'll just sit down and start talking about Jesus, I guess. And someone responds. Paul is learning throughout his whole journey, this is his second missionary trip, that going on missions with God is going to mean adjustment from what you thought the way it was going to be. Even when you receive this amazing vision from God that you're like, okay, that was God, I'm going to follow it, it still may not quite play out like you thought it was, but God's at work. Paul's thinking, okay, God, what are you doing here? I'm all thrown off. But he goes forward with the plan, he sits down, he talks to her, and this woman receives the message and she believes. And it seems like a small thing to us. No, someone made a decision. That's awesome. But if you didn't catch it, this is the first time he's come to the city. She's the very first person to say yes to Jesus in this city that we know of. And she becomes, if you read on the rest of the book, this amazing person who opens up her home, not just to Paul, but to all the believers that come in that time. Her home probably becomes the house church of Philippi. And so while Paul may have shown up, maybe I'm reading into it a lot, but he may have shown up thinking, okay, I don't know what's going on. God has a plan here. A couple other neat things. It says she was a seller of purple goods. Purple was a dye that came from her hometown, Thyatira, and purple was expensive. It stood for royalty. She was probably very wealthy. In order for her to have space in her home to say, hey, come stay with me, you know what I mean? Cha-ching. Of course, you don't. See, nobody knows what cha-ching means because we don't have drawers that cha-ching anymore, So, but anyway, she was well off. God had a plan. He was going to take care of Paul. He knew what he was doing, even though sometimes we show up on our mission field, in our workplaces, in our homes, overseas, thinking, this is how it's going to be, and it's all just thrown off. But yet God is still at work. Paul's learning that missions equals change. Adjusting what you think on your strategies and how it's going to work. On this riverside, it says the Lord opened their heart. I don't want to miss that. The Lord opened their heart. We can't forget all along that God is moving sovereignly with our free will. It's that tension that's there. But yes, she responds, but yes, God was working on her heart. So the Lord opened her heart. The Spirit is moving even when we can't see it. The first believer in this area is Lydia, a non-Jew woman. And God's just laughing his head off, thinking, I tricked you. I don't know. But God's doing some neat things in this whole book, and it's neat to see it unfold. She gets baptized, her whole household as well. It's interesting they would say household and not family. Household could mean family, but it also may mean servants and all the workers in the house. We don't know, but She had a household. And as a sign of that, she says, hey, I want to get baptized. And they do it right then. No 2-year waiting period, no class to make sure you know what baptism means. Just, I believe, let's get baptized. And I think those things can be good, but at the same time, I don't want it to trip up someone who really is like, man, I believe and I'm really serious about this. Damn this fortunate turn up.